Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Reviews. And today, we're going to have another bit of a fun day with our buddies at Ubisoft. Today, we're going to be doing a review of For Honor for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. I believe those are all the platforms. Now, people might remember when the announcement for Honor happened 2 years ago, I believe, at not BlizzCon, E3 2015, I want to say. I was excited for this game because it looked unique. It was first of all, it was a new IP from Ubisoft, which is an exciting thing to see. And on top of that, it looked fairly interesting. Now, people might also remember that at E3 2016, when we got more details on For Honor, I lost a little bit of that. I mean, here's the thing. We were told in 2015 that it was going to be a multiplayer experience. And I'm like, okay, well, this still looks like a good multiplayer experience. Then we got told in 2016 that there was going to be a story mode, like that it was going to be able to tell a little bit of the story that they were trying to make here, that there actually was a story to be made. And I got even more excited because holy crap, it's a story mode. As long as it isn't, 2 hours long, I'm fine. But now we've come to the release and now I need to review for it. So let's go ahead and get started. The story is fairly simple. Some cataclysmic event happened, we don't know necessarily what that is, and now kingdoms war for resources and survival as well as dominance. You have three factions that you can basically work with. You have the Knights of Ashfeld, which is just, insert British Knights in their kind of combat. Then you also have the Vikings of Valkenheim, typical Viking kind of players, things like that. And then finally, in the mire, you have the samurai. And so you have Vikings, Knights, and samurai fighting for dominance. Except we also got introduced to a new faction that really wasn't a new faction called the Blackstone Legion. We thought we were going to get like this, this fourth, more devious race. And unfortunately, the Blackstone Legion, I'm going to spoil it, is part of the Knights. You deal with the Blackstone Legion in pretty much every part of the campaign, but it's Knights. They are part of the Knights, and a lot of their heroes are Knights. So yeah, there's not really a fourth race there. So I would actually say shame on you, Ubisoft, for trying to advertise a potential fourth race when there really wasn't one. You only had the three, and that's actually one of the things I was really looking forward to, and we'll get to that in a bit. There is actually a story mode, and it is pretty long. It's got, I think, howlongtobeat.com has it clocked at about 6.5 hours. I went through it in about 4.5, roughly. I'm just going to say it. There's no story. The story mode is worthless at this point. It's a glorified tutorial, is really what it is. Pretty much the way that you start things off is the first chapter is the Knights, and you deal with their being taken over by the Blackstone Legion, and the people that you play are not happy about it. And it just basically goes through all of the battles that they had to go do in order to gain their supremacy, and then eventually they'll filter into Valkenheim to try and get the Vikings to fall apart. Then you go into Valkenheim, and you play the Vikings, and you play a Viking that basically unites all the tribes, and then they decide, oh, wait, we're Vikings, aren't we? Well, yes, we are. Why don't we go ahead and raid something? And they decide to go raid the mire, are you seeing a pattern here? The Knights transition into the Vikings, and the Vikings transition into the Samurai. And so you then have your final battles going on in the mire. Then you lead into the mire, the Samurai chapter, where you are the Emperor's champion, and you go to face the Blackstone Legion to take care of their leader Apollyon once and for all. It's a glorified tutorial, people. I really wish I could say that it was exciting or anything like that, but there was no point where I was just like invested in any of the characters. Each character was as generic as they could possibly be, and I mean generic Knight, generic Viking, and generic Samurai. It really, this is a story mode with little to no effort put into it at all. And so I actually did take a ton of points off of this, because I would actually dare say that when they were advertising at E3 that there was going to be a story mode, that we all had the presumption that it was going to be better than this. So, no, Ubisoft, I'm taking major points off of your freaking story mode, if you want to call it that. I want to call it tutorial mode plus. Moving on to the visuals. Obviously, this thing looks good, and I've said it in the past 2 years. The Knights look good, the Samurai look good, the Vikings look good. It's all good, and that's never been a complaint with Ubisoft games, except for one simple little problem. There's glitches. Yeah, there's glitches. I know that's not surprising to a lot of people, but there's glitches in For Honor, just as much as there was in the most recent Assassin's Creed games. It's almost like they don't have enough bug testers. I didn't actually experience this myself, but I did go out to see a lot of the multiplayer streams just to see if people were having difficulties and whatnot. And I actually came across a guy, and I forgot to write down his Twitch stream, but he actually, for a good while in his stream there, he was performing executions where they stepped back from each other. So these were supposed to be like killing blows, and then thwomp, he does it, and the sword's not even connecting with its target, and you still see blood. You still see like bloody hits happening, and I think he was even playing he was playing the Knights, I think, and then he even did a beheading move, and the head still popped off, but the blade was nowhere near the head. So yeah, this thing is riddled with glitches, and yeah, I did take points off for the visuals. While they are stunning, and while it does look very, very good, it still has lots of those visual glitches that you've come to love so much from Ubisoft games. Gameplay. I mean, it's an interesting concept, in theory, but when you've played through it for a good couple of hours, you start to realize one simple thing. This fighting system is a glorified version of rock, paper, scissors. It is. Here's the way, in order to succeed in this game. You have to basically hold your sword in the proper way to be able to counter all of the attacks that that the opponent is going to do, and then you just have to pick whatever side you don't think they're going to have their sword at, or their shield at, and then wail on them endlessly. I was actually having a conversation with somebody, and we were talking about how OP the Viking Raider is. He is. The Viking Raider basically gets a wild swing that, for some reason, can also, I even saw it in my campaign mode, it, for some reason, can ignore things like shields. It can ignore things like a actual parry from a sword. So yeah, Vikings are a little overpowered. The Samurai feel very underpowered, honestly. I actually was the most frustrated with the Samurai campaign and multiplayer with it. And that's the one I wanted. The Samurai was the one I wanted to play. And it feels weak. I would dare say that the Vikings probably feel the strongest. The Knights feel like somewhere in the middle. And I don't even know what you were doing with the Samurai. I really don't. And so at that point, I mean, the gameplay looks like it might be interesting, but trust me, after about 2 or 3 hours, you're going to start to notice patterns, and then you're going to be bored with the gameplay. I kid you not. The Knight didn't have me engaged. The Viking probably had me the most engaged because I was actually doing damage, and the Samurai was the most frustrated. So I did take points off for gameplay. I will say I did play a little bit of the multiplayer. Most of my stuff was with the single player, though. Bottom line to all the people who are going to be complaining right here and now, I'm a single player guy, not a multiplayer guy. But if it's broken single player, it's definitely going to be broken multiplayer. So make whatever complaints you want. That's the bottom line of it. This game is not balanced by any stretch, and I can already tell you that just by doing the campaign. Moving on into the audio. Again, I have a very similar issue with all of this, is that it is very, very generic. The music, very generic. In fact, I forgot it was even there a lot of the time. The voice acting, while it might have been interesting, and some people might have gotten some good lines here and there, everybody was pretty freaking generic. I swear, Ubisoft, whoever you hired for like the Ezio part of Assassin's Creed and and all that, you need to rehire them. You know, get over what problems you had with them, because ever since then, your games have had such generic voice acting. I'm not even kidding on that. They've had the most generic voice acting in a long, long time, and this is no different. Where we're supposed to be getting invested in some of these characters, Apollyon is bad because she's bad. The warden that you play in the night campaign, it's Liam O'Brien, for crying out loud. I don't want to say that he's generic, but whoever was directing him was just like, yes, we need you to have this generic reaction to this point. Oh no, you broke my vows. Let Liam do what he knows how to do. I just don't get how this was such a problem, especially when I could tell that the warden was Liam O'Brien, and I know there was a couple of other noted voice actors in there, that this is not their best performance. In fact, I would say it's bordering on them phoning it in, and probably because of the direction. I'm not blaming the actors for this. I think it was the direction that did it. So yeah, I'm also faulting this for its crummy audio. Replay value. Obviously, I can't necessarily complain about the replay value because there is a multiplayer mode, and despite my problems with it, people are playing it on Twitch. People are having fun with it. So at that point, it does have a replay value in the multiplayer. Does it have a replay value for me? Not really, but I'm not necessarily going to fault that. I'm not going to fault For Honor for not being able to invest me in the multiplayer. Although I didn't appreciate the fact that I had to sign up to a stupid Ubisoft service to play this game. That was absolutely stupid. Presentation. Does this game come together to provide a good experience? Nope. It does not. I have no problem saying that. Its visual glitches will throw you out of the experience very quickly. Its audio is not even compelling enough to be able to get you involved in the story. Its gameplay eventually will bore the crap out of you, at least as far as I'm concerned, and the story is a glorified tutorial mode. So that's why I have no problem giving For Honor a 5 out of 10. It is an average game. And that's really sad, because this game was hyped up to be, you know, like an Ubisoft classic, that we were going to get this brand spanking new IP from a guy who hasn't directed a whole lot, and now I can kind of see why he hasn't directed a whole lot, because this is amazingly average. I'm hoping that through DLC or whatnot, maybe even For Honor 2, if that happens, we might get like additional tribes, additional ways to be able to fight. But before you even do that, I would strongly advise that you rebalance things in multiplayer, because this just doesn't feel balanced at all. And I've said, I haven't played a whole lot of multiplayer, but it just doesn't feel balanced. The story mode didn't feel balanced. That's definitely one of those things that needs to be fixed. And then at that point, you need to get people invested. Either do a DLC story, either add new tribes via DLC. You need to figure out whatever it is that needs to be done. Until then, this is the most average game that I've played this year. And that's going to go ahead and do it for this review of For Honor. First of all, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm sorry if you think this is the greatest game ever. Leave a comment below and tell me where you think I'm wrong. If you like the game, let me know what you liked about it. Let me know what you disliked about it. If you like this video, feel free to give a like to it, and also check out all the other video content that I do, despite the whether it be the Let's Plays, whether it be other reviews, whether it be Drak Tries, where I actually did play for about an hour of For Honor, and you guys can see my actual experience with that. And also consider subscribing to my channel, because I always appreciate you guys' support. You guys are the best. You guys allow me to be able to do what I love doing, and I always love getting your feedback in the process so that I can continue to improve. And of course, I will see you guys next time for the next video.